A few thoughts around the sermon title, It's Just Church. It's just church. And against the backdrop of those two passages, one from the book of Deuteronomy and the other from the book of Ephesians. It's just church is, I'm quoting myself here. I use that phrase quite often. And I use it in the church office, addressing Wendy, our communications manager and office manager. I don't want her job. Nobody can pay me enough ever to do that job. She is much worse off than a traffic controller in a government shutdown. She has lists up both sides of her desktop screen quite often. Stuff that I've forgotten that's happening in the background that she manages. Apart from doing the official stuff that is above the surface, she has an unending flow of people looking for information about several things, just biding time, waiting to meet somebody there and then chatting with Wendy, which is good, and so forth and so forth. So when Wendy gets stressed, because she has an insane work ethic as well, to do things very well and perfect. When she gets stressed, and when she gets upset about behaviors and things going on and communications that she overheard, I would say to her, Wendy, remember, it's just church. It's just church. This is not your whole life. This is where you work. You can go home and you can settle there and be at peace. I said to her, leave the worrying to me. Leave the concern to me. And I'm not very successful in convincing her of that. But it's my way of trying to convey to her, listen, in the short span that we as human beings manage to come into life and exist, it's not even a blink of an eye in the bigger picture. When you think of that, and it varies depending on which model of reality and the universe you embrace. Between 3 and 6 billion years from now, the sun will expand and take the earth with it, make it a cinder. And then, again, depending on which model of the universe you embrace, and I looked lately, there's around 14 or 15 of them, the universe will wind down, and everything will check out with a whimper. Cold, nothing, compacted to a singularity between 10 to the power of 12 and 10 to the power of 15 trillion years from now. I think the universe will be done for, and probably all of us as well, implicitly. And I tried to say something to that effect. Listen, it's just church. This is not so important that you have to stress out so much about it. But I think that is an inadequate statement. I think that is not what I should be saying to the church office manager to get her through her day. Because yes, all that happens around that office, the administrative hub of this congregation, it is just church. But gathering as church is a response, a choice that we make, acknowledging the human condition, that we are frail, that we all have our foibles, that we have our own thinking and our own frames of reference, that we are people and that we are human. That is an acknowledgement of that, but it is also an acknowledgement of the choice that we make when we decide to become part of the church, when we enter into this community. It is a response to the reality that we encounter in ourselves, in the people around us, and in the world. It is acknowledging reality, but responding with the choice to gather on the basis of what we've heard from the book of Deuteronomy. The covenant, the agreement, the solemn agreement that God chose to make with Israel, and implicitly with all people of God, with the whole of humanity. And it is our response to that invitation of God to live in relationship with God, to say yes to the life of fullness and abundance, say yes to the life of peace and of justice and of love. It is also a firm commitment to say, no, we do not accept that this is all there is. That we have to accept that the way we are, that famous saying that I've also adopted to say, it is what it is. It is what it is, and we can't do anything about it. It is also, in a sense, a rebellion against that, to say, no, we are not just a covenanted community based on the covenant that we read about again here today. It is a response to say, we commit ourselves to be and to become the beloved community, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. referred to it, based on the philosophies of Josiah Royce. To be and to become the beloved community. It is a commitment we make when we stand either in the pew or in front of the church when we become members. We commit to that. People that want to become members respond to the questions, and then the whole church, all the members, make the covenant, the agreement. This is how we will be together. This is who we are. This is who we want to become. We make that commitment again today when we enter through those doors. It testifies that we are committed to be together and to live in a certain and a specific way in our interaction here in this meeting house. But also when we exit here, in every action, in every word, in our whole being, this is who we want to be. The beloved community, God's people. We have been conditioned, and we've become used in this nation to live a life of outrage. We are angry. There is animosity. Cheap shots have become valued and precious. Dirt has become a thing of beauty. And I think we have forgotten that when you win in a specific way, everybody becomes a loser. We are not immune to that. Not as God's people, not as Boy Scouts and leaders. When I read the covenant in the Bible and I read the result of being true to that covenant, as we've heard it in the letter that Paul wrote to the church in Ephesus, there is so much in common with your purpose and what we as church are trying to be and to do. And I want to invite you to walk with us and journey with us, and say that we are committed to support you in what you are trying to do. And instead of living with outrage, instead of nurturing animosity, of stoking fear, of creating division, let us take hands and together be God's people, so that who we are and what we do may be life-giving. That each one of us may be and become a nodule and a center of hope and a life-giving presence that brings forth what is good and what creates something that endures and that brings the best out of what we all carry in us. As God's people, the beloved community, when we conclude the service and we go into an important congregational meeting, may we carry that in our hearts as well. May that be what we speak. May that be what we hear. So that following the meeting, we may also be able to walk together as God's people into the world, and with respect for others' freedom of conscience, walk together to do God's work, united as God's people. May you be open to God's Spirit to experience that and to commit to that today as well. Amen.